Hi, my name is Steve. I'm with Integrity Fire Systems. I'm here to give you a brief overview of how your automatic fire sprinkler system works here at Garvey Court. This is your typical fire sprinkler riser floor assembly. Every floor is pretty typical. The supply is fed from the city water main, runs up to the building, and the system is pressurized at all times at city pressure. Pressure out here is approximately 90 psi, and that will be on the system all the time. Down here you've got your fire department connection hose valve. It's locked out so that none of the tenants can open it up and discharge a bunch of water, but the fire department can come in here and break this off and use it to hook up their fire hoses and fight a fire. Above that is your isolation valve for this floor. Every floor has one. If there's any kind of maintenance that needs to be done to the system, we will shut off the supply to this floor by itself so that we can do our service, leaving the rest of the building in service. Just above that is your check valve so that the water doesn't go backwards into the city water main. You've got your flow switch, which indicates flow out of a sprinkler. If a sprinkler were to discharge, this would pick up that water flow, sending a signal to your alarm panel and notifying the fire department that there's a fire on the third floor. We're on the third floor now. Every floor has this as well, so they can determine where the fire would be. And here is your main drain, test and drain. If you were to, once we shut the system down at this floor, we will use this valve to drain it down and do our service or whatever we need to do. And this is basically your riser and your main that feeds this entire floor, the sprinkler system on this floor.
Is there a state dictated schedule for testing these systems?
Yes, there are annual inspections and 5-year inspections. Each one of those entails different items to be inspected and or tested and or serviced. Your annual inspection has your control valves we service and make sure that they are in operating condition, and the alarm panel is monitoring all the devices. Your 5-year inspection gets more in detail with inspection of piping and hangers and all the rest of the devices in the system.
And is there any reason for the facility people here at the site to ever be doing anything to the system?
Integrity's recommendation is to not have anybody at the facility, as far as maintenance or management goes, to touch the fire sprinkler system really in any way, unless there is an emergency where somebody accidentally breaks a sprinkler head, kids are playing in the rooms, or somebody decides to hang something from a sprinkler head and it pops. The fire alarm is going to go off. If maintenance sees that it's an accident, there's no fire, they can come in, shut the water off at that floor to minimize water damage at that time. But as far as a leak, a slow leak, or anything that has to do with service or maintenance or future work, we would recommend that nobody does mess with the fire sprinkler system except a professional. And we'd be happy to come out and take care of any one of those issues.
And now if a pipe, say one of these at the elbow or something, had a small infrequent leak, that's pretty typical, isn't it? And it will seal itself
Yes,
up.
water tends to find its way out of little holes and cracks here and there. They typically seal themselves up within a few days. So I would give it, it's not going to hurt anything. You put a bucket underneath it, watch it, make sure it stops. If it doesn't stop, if it persists, then go ahead and give us a call. We'll come out and take care of it. But it does happen on occasion, and like I said, most of them will seal themselves up.
Okay. Is this the typical sprinkler head that's used throughout the building?
Yes, this is the your typical semi-recessed fire sprinkler head. Most of the sprinklers in this building will be rated at 155 degrees. They are all individually activated by heat only. They do not all go off at one time, like the movies show. So if a fire were to start underneath this one would go off. If the fire had enough fuel to move throughout the building, the next one would go off, and so on and so forth. The glass bulb in there is filled with mercury. That's what, when it heats up, that's what causes that glass bulb to burst and release water. It's basically holding in a plug. Fairly easy to break if you are close enough to it. You try to hang clothes from it, and it happens more often than you would think.
And if the escutcheon, which is the ring around the outside that slides up in it, excuse me, if that escutcheon were to slip, were to fall down, and say they came and cautiously slid it back up, and it did seem loose, what's the trick to making it stay in place?
A lot of times, if they do fall off, there's tabs on the inner button that push out on it, and those are pushed in. What you can do is just squeeze the inner part of that ring a little bit to kind of pinch it, and you can push it back on and it'll typically stay. That's not a problem.
Okay. And so there are no other type of heads. There's no, like the flush mount with the caps over them?
No, we don't have any concealed sprinklers on this job. I believe all of them are semi-recessed type sprinklers. The only other difference would be anything in the attic, which nobody can get to, and in the elevator pit would be a different type. But everything that's accessible to tenants or building management or maintenance would be the semi-recessed type.
All right. And this is what you just went through with us here and behind you.
Yes.
That's typical of each floor, right?
Yeah, the assembly you see here is typical of each floor. Every floor will have its fire department hose connection, a floor isolation valve that's monitored. So if somebody comes in here and turns it off, kids are in here messing around, it'll let the panel know that it's shut. It won't go into alarm, but it'll give you a supervisory signal. And your check valve and your riser manifold, your main drain and test drain, your flow switch and your gauge. Every floor is very typical. Orientation might change a bit, but the general setup is all the same.
Okay. And the underground TriStar already pointed out the FDC connection to us and pointed out the fire sprinkler check valve.
The backflow preventer, right. So,
any other parts of the system that you can think of?
As far as the sprinkler system itself, that's pretty much it. You know, your fire alarm's another story. I think you should have a fire alarm guy coming in. But as far as the fire sprinkler system goes, that's pretty much it. Everything else is concealed above the ceilings, and you have your fire sprinklers, and it's pretty basic. It's actually a pretty basic system.
Do either of you have any questions?
No, you did a great job. Yeah, very good job.
This is my second rodeo. This is the second time we've had to do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did it. I can't remember where I did it at last, but
yeah, but then they give
you
you a copy.
no, they didn't. No.
What happened is somebody for a mistake break that thing. What happened?
It's going to discharge water. 13 gallons a minute will come out of that sprinkler. So if it's, and the fire alarm will go off. All your horn strobes will go off, your exterior bell will ring. Everybody's probably going to panic and evacuate, but as long as management or maintenance figures out, and the fire department will come out. They'll get a phone call from the monitoring company. The fire department will show up automatically just because it's monitored that way. Okay. But if maintenance or management figures out that it's an accidental break, At that time, I would recommend shutting off the control valve, opening up the drain, and that'll minimize the water damage in the building.
That is the best thing we can do, is open the.
Yeah, absolutely. Close this valve, open up this drain, push it up, open it up all the way, and get all the rest of the water out of the system.
Okay.
And it'll drain outside and not into your building.
Yeah.
If they happen this, I imagine at least once this has happened, but probably wouldn't normally, saw somebody take a ladder through there walking with a maintenance person, they bust that off. Is there any reason for them to call the monitoring company to say this is a false alarm? Because the trucks will roll no matter what.
Yeah, by the time you can get it figured out and shut it all off, and the fire department's going to be here, they'll notify the monitoring company that it was a false alarm. Okay. Yeah, there's no phone calls that need to be made. You just want to let the fire department know it's a false alarm. They'll come up, check it out. Sometimes the fire department will replace the sprinkler with the spare sprinklers that are downstairs. A lot of times you'll have to call us out to come back and put in a new sprinkler. And then we can re-energize the system and put it back online.
Yeah. Now, and really, I've never heard anyone, but you tell me what you think. I've never heard any company recommend that maintenance people or owners put the sprinkler heads back in.
No.
Sometimes the fire department will do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if not, it'd be best to have a professional.
Absolutely.
Because they take liability if they do it themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a technique. I mean, it's not brain surgery, but there's definitely a technique to it. We have to put Teflon tape on it, some Teflon pipe dope on it as well, and it gets torqued down to a certain degree of torque as well. Okay, that pretty much concludes our overview of the fire sprinkler system here at Garvey Court. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to do any future work, tenant improvement work, or there's any damages or leaks to the system, you can feel free to give us a call at 951-549-9899. And our fax number is 951-549-9895.